Good day, everyone, and welcome to our Morphology and Physiology of Insect class. In this class, we're going to discuss some important systems of the insects, about 6 of them, namely the digestive system, the muscular system, the nervous system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, and then the excretory system. In each and every one of them, we'll discuss some important information or some important aspects of it. I want to go over and discuss the digestive system of the insects. The digestive system of the insects is very vital. Why? Insects use their digestive system to extract nutrients and other substances from the food they consume on daily basis. If not for the digestive system, what the insect eats will not perform its function. But the digestive system will digest them and extract the nutrients from those things they ate so that the nutrients will be able to perform its work maximally. Most of the food ingested by insects are in form of macromolecules and other complex substances. And such macromolecules and complex substances include the proteins, polysaccharides, fats, and nucleic acids. And these ones must be broken down by catabolic reactions into smaller molecules so that the insect body will be able to absorb them. This breakdown process is known of the macromolecules and other complex substances into smaller molecules is what is known as digestion. And that is what the digestive system does. It is important to mention that the insect digestive system is a closed system with one long enclosed coil tube that is known as the alimentary canal. And the alimentary canal runs lengthwise through the body. It opens from the mouth and ended at the anus of the insects. The alimentary canal only allows food to enter the mouth and then get processed as it travels towards the anus. This is the general information we need to know. And then it is important to mention that the digestive system is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the stomatodium, also known as the foreguts. The second part is the mesenteron, known as the midguts. And then the third part is the proctodium, that is otherwise known as the hindguts. The foregut, which is the stomatodium, stores, grinds, and transports food to the next region of the alimentary canal. Now, the second part, that is the mesenteron, that is the midgut, here the digestive enzymes are produced in the mesenteron and they are secreted into the lumen. And here, nutrients are absorbed into the insect body. Also, food is enveloped by this part of the gut, the midgut, the mesenteron, as it arrives from the foreguts by the peritrophic membrane, which is also a mucopolysaccharide layer secreted from the midgut's epithelial cell. That's about the mesenteron. And then let's talk about the proctodium. The proctodium, which is the hindgut, is divided into 3 sections. And the 3 sections The first one is the anterior, which is the ileum, and then the middle portion of it, which is the colon, and the wider part, which is the posterior section, that is otherwise known as the rectum. Well, this is the major important information that we need to take note of from this section. That's the digestive system. We now want to talk about the muscular system of the insects. The muscular system of the insects. Uh, Many insects, they are able to lift up their body uh, irrespective of how their body weight is. They can lift it up, lift their own body up, just like many other animals, and they can even jump distances, even fly very far away from their habitat into new areas. This is very, very possible as a result of the functions of the muscular system of the insects. Aside the muscular system, the insect may not be able to fly far away, jump distances, or even lift their body mass. The muscular system of the insect ranges from few hundred muscles into thousands of them. Unlike the vertebrates that have both smooth and striated muscles, insects has only striated muscles. And the muscle cells are amazed into muscle fibers and then into the functional unit that is known as the muscle. The insect muscles are attached to the body walls with attachment fibers running through the cortical and to the epicortical, where they can move different parts of their body, including appendages such as wings. The muscle fiber has many cells with a plasma membrane and outer sheets. And myofibril comprising a fine filament, a close between a thick pair of myosin filament slide past each other, instigated by nerve impulses. Now, we want to talk about the different divisions in the muscles of the insects. Majorly, the insect muscle is divided into four major categories. There are the, uh, the visceral muscles, the segmental muscles, the appendicular muscles, and the flight muscles. The first one, the first category, that's the visceral muscles. These muscles surround the tubes and ducts, and these muscles are responsible for producing peristalis, as demonstrated in digestive system. That is peristatal movement. That is what the visceral muscle is responsible in doing. The segmental muscles cause in telescoping of muscle segments. The muscles are required for molting and increase in body pressure and locomotion in insect larvae that are legless or legless insect larvae. The third category is the appendicular muscle. The appendicular muscle either originates from either the sternum or the tagum, and they are inserted on the coxa. And these muscles move appendages as one unit. That's the major work of the appendicular muscles. Then the last one is the flight muscles. The flight muscles are the most specialized category of muscles, and they are capable of rapid contractions. They are responsible for flight in insects. That's why they are known as flight muscles. That's about the muscular system. Now let's talk about the nervous system. Insects have a complex nervous system which incorporates a variety of internal physiological informations as well as external sensory information. As in the case of vertebrates, the basic component is the neuron or nerve cells, which is made up of a dendrite with two projections that receive stimulus and an axon, and which transmits information to another neuron or organ, just like a muscle. As with vertebrates, chemicals are released at synapses. Now let's talk about under nervous system. Let's talk about the central nervous system. An insect's sensory, motor, or physiological processes are controlled by the central nervous system along with the endocrine system. The central nervous system is otherwise known as the CNS. And then the insect brain, the insect brain, uh, or okay, being a principal division of the nervous system, the central nervous system that we just talked about consists of a brain. The central nervous system consists of a brain and a ventral nerve cord and a esophageal ganglion, which is connected to the brain by two nerves, extending around each side of the esophagus. Now, that insect brain, has three lobes. The first lobe is the protocerebrum, the second one is the deuterocerebrum, and the third one is tritocerebrum. The protocerebrum uh, innervating the compound eyes and the ocelli, while the deuterocerebrum innervates the antenna, and the tritocerebrum innervates the foreguts and the labrum. These are their major functions. That's about the insect brain. Then the ventral nerve cord extends from the subesophageal ganglion posteriorly. Posteriorly. Now let's talk about the ganglion. The ganglia of the central nervous system act as the coordinating centers with their own specific autonomy, where each may contribute impulses in specified region of the insect body. We talk about the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of motor neuron axons that branch out to the muscles from the ganglia of the central nervous system. Parts of the sympathetic nervous system and the sensory neurons of the cuticular sense organs that receive chemicals, thermal, mechanical, or visual stimuli from the insect environment. That's the peripheral nervous system. And we talk about some other sensory organs in the insects. Chemical senses include the use of chemoreceptors related to tastes and smell, affecting mating, habitat selection, feeding, and parasite-host relationship. That's about the chemical senses. Now, taste in the insects is usually located on the mouth part of the insects, but in some insects such as bees, wasps, and ants, taste organs can also be found on the antenna. Now, let's talk about the uh, the compound eye, very important, the compound eye and the ocelli of the insects. The compound eye and the ocelli, they supply vision to the insects. They supply vision to the insects. Without the compound eye and ocelli, the insects will have no vision. So the compound eye consists of individual light receptive units known as omatidia. Again, the compound eye of the insect consists of individual light receptive units called omatidia. Now, uh, several insects may have them in several or varying numbers. The compound eye, some ants, for example, may have just only one or two omatidia. But other insects like dragonfly may have as many as 10,000 omatidia. And as a result of having a whole lot of 10,000 omatidia, just a dragonfly, the vision is very advanced. And as a result of that, it may be difficult to catch such insects as dragonfly due to their high powerful vision. Very difficult to catch them. If you have ever chased a dragonfly before, you will testify to this. But it may be just very easy to catch an ant because their vision cannot be compared to that of dragonfly that has over 10,000 omatidia. The more omatidia an insect has, the greater the visual acuity, the more they have a sharp vision and more sensitive to the environment. These units have a clear lens system and light sensitive retinal cells. We'll now talk about the respiratory system. Insect respiration is accomplished without lungs using a system of internal tubes and sacs through which gases either diffuse or are actively pumped, delivering oxygen directly to tissues that need oxygen, and then, by so doing, eliminate carbon dioxide via their cells. Since oxygen is delivered directly, the circulatory system is not used to carry oxygen and is therefore greatly reduced in insects. It has no closed vessels. It has no closed vessels. Now, still talking about the respiratory system, air is taken into the insect body through spiracle. Take notes, through spiracle. And these are openings which are positioned laterally in the pleural wall of the insect, usually a pair on the anterior margins or the meso and the metathorax. The oxygen passes through the trachea to the tracheoles and enters the body by the process of diffusion. And the carbon dioxide leaves the insect body by the same process. There are many different patterns of gaseous exchange demonstrated by different group of insects. Gas exchange patterns in insects can range from continuous diffusive ventilation to discontinuous gas exchange. Terrestrial and large portion of aquatic insects perform gaseous exchange under an open system. They perform terrestrial, those who live on land, and a large portion of aquatic insects, those who live in water, perform exchange of gas under an open system. Other smaller number of aquatic insects have a closed tracheal system. For example, Odonata and others, they have a tracheal gill and they have no functional spiracle. Okay, we'll progress to the circulatory system. The main function of the insect's blood, which is hemolymph, is that of transport. The insect blood is known as hemolymph, and its main function is transport within the insect system. As the hemolymph moves in through the insects, the hemolymph bathes the insect's body organs within. It bathes them. And the hemolymph, making up usually less than 25% of the insect's body weight, transports items like hormone, nutrients, and wastes. And it also has a role to play in osmoregulation. The hemolymph also has a role to play in temperature control, immunity, storage, and even skeletal functions. Yes, the hemolymph has serious role to play in the insect body. That's not all. The hemolymph also plays an essential part in the molting process of the insects. An additional role of the hemolymph in some uh, others can be that of predatory defense. The hemolymph can help perform this function. It can contain unpalatable and malodorous chemicals that will act as deterrents to predators. Within the insects, the hemolymph can contain some unpalatable chemicals, and these unpalatable chemicals within the hemolymph can act as a deterrent to predators of the insects. This is another function of the hemolymph. There are more functions. Hemolymph contains molecules, ions, and cells. Regulating chemical exchanges between tissues is also the work of the hemolymph. Hemolymph is encased in the insect body cavity or the hemocell. It is transported around the body by combined heart, that's the posterior, and aorta, that is anterior, which are located dorsally, just under the surface of the body. It differs from vertebrate blood. The hemolymph is quite different from vertebrate blood, even though it does the work of blood in insects, but it is quite different from vertebrate blood in that it doesn't contain any red blood cell and therefore is without high oxygen carrying capacity. The hemolymph is without high oxygen carrying capacity and is more similar to lymph found in vertebrates. The body fluid enters through one-way valves, ostia, which are openings situated along the length of the combined aorta and heart organs. Pumping of the hemolymph occurs by waves of peristaltic contraction. That is how the hemolymph pumps, by waves of peristaltic contraction, originating at the body's posterior end and pumping forward into the dorsal vessel, out via the via the aorta, and then into the head, where it flows out into the hemocell. That's the nature of the movement of the hemolymph. We are not done yet with the function of the hemolymph. The hemolymph is circulated to the appendages of the insects with the aid of muscular pumps or accessories. That is how they are circulated to the appendages of the insects. And these accessories are usually found at the base of the antenna or wings, and sometimes they can be found in the legs of the insects. Pumping rates of the hemolymph accelerates due to periods of increased activity of the insects. Movement of the hemolymph is particularly important for thermoregulation in insect orders such as Odonata, Lepidoptera, Hymenoptera, and Diptera. So you can see that there is a whole lot about the hemolymph, the function of the hemolymph. We now want to talk conclusively on the excretory system of the insects. The excretory system, although some terrestrial arthropods such as land crabs and ticks retain the decosa glands of the aquatic ancestors. Others, the insects, possess an entirely different type of excretory system. The Malpighian tubules, which vary in number from 2 in some species of insects to more than 100 in other species of insects, end blindly in the body cavity. Talking about the Malpighian tubule, they end blindly in the body cavity. And this body cavity is the blood space or the hemolymph space within the insect body. They end blindly there, the Malpighian tubule, and then open not directly to the stereo, but the anterior alimentary canal at the junction between the midguards and the hindguards. The primary urine issuing from the Malpighian tubules has to pass through the rectum before it leaves the insect body. That is the root. The primary urine issuing from the Malpighian tubule during excretory processes has to pass through the rectum of the insect before it leaves the insect body. And in the rectum, its composition is changed. And now, the insect excretory system, therefore, comprises of the Malpighian tubule and the rectums acting together. So the Malpighian tubule and the rectum must act together. And so this is the a few information, important information that we can take from the excretory system of the insects. So in this course, so far, we have reviewed about 6 insect organs, starting from the digestive system, to the muscular system, to the nervous system, to the circulatory system, and the excretory system. Each of these systems is very, very important to the insect life, and it's the efficiency of each of these systems help the insect to carry out its function and to live and to adjust to its environment and to be able to perform maximally. So that's all we can take from this course, and I hope the information that we have shared uh, is helpful. Thank you.